Hi Kings Mountain. We're back again with updates with the city manager. I'm your city manager, Jim Palenick, and today's topic is growth. And I know you see me today in this setting and it's very peaceful and green behind me, but we know that here in the city of Kings Mountain, a lot of new growth is coming, a lot of new residential subdivisions, new commercial development, and a lot of other things that are going to in many ways change the course of what our community looks like. And people really get worried about, and I understand the worries, that how will some of these things get paid for? And in the process, will it mean that individual citizens that live in Kings Mountain today have to pay for them? And one of the good things that we want to tell you about is some of the things that the city has been doing recently to actually make certain that growth pays for growth. And one of those things is we recently approved some additional new policies at the city council level, specifically with the extension of infrastructure that is required to serve new development. And what I want to do is I want to invite in a guest today who is Wayne Ledbetter. He's our Director of Energy Services. Come on in and join me, Wayne. How you doing today, Wayne?
I'm doing good.
Wonderful.
How are you, Jim?
I'm excellent. So Wayne, you recently introduced a new series of policies, and they've been approved by the City Council, which essentially deals with the fact that when new growth happens, particularly things like new residential subdivisions, and it is required to extend electric or gas infrastructure, that the folks that are having to do that work, they really are going to pay for it. Is that correct?
That is correct. And so what those policies will cover is an extension. So on our distribution for electric or natural gas, these developers that come in and propose developments, these agreements and policies have those folks pay for that.
So if I'm a developer and I'm developing this new residential subdivision, and it turns out in order for me to have electric in that subdivision to wind up serving each of these new homes, that you have to extend distribution service maybe a half mile or something from where it currently is, and there's substantial cost related to that, which probably wouldn't be unusual, would it?
Correct. That's
okay.
Correct.
Then basically what you're saying is they have to pay for that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
And that also would cover any expense that it would take to serve, for example, a 100-home subdivision. Any service that would, or distribution that would need to go through that development is paid by the developer and or contractor.
And do they do that up front?
So the policy words, 50% is due up front.
Okay.
The remaining is due within 90 days. Easy math, and it depends on the number of dwellings in that subdivision. So if it's 100 homes or 100 dwellings, and you have a mixture of 50 townhomes or 50 apartments and 50 single-family homes, and it's $300,000 per se to get that infrastructure, it's just divided up amongst the number of dwellings per development.
Gotcha. Now this is not what used to be, correct? I mean, in the past, if the city was extending these infrastructure facilities, whether that's electric or gas, whether we were building distribution lines or transformers or things that were necessary, the city wound up picking up that cost, did it not?
That is correct.
Yeah. But now we have so much growth on the horizon, obviously, that would never work, because at the end of the day, in order to make that happen, the actual existing residential customers in a way would wind up paying for it, because it's got to come out of the utility funds, correct?
That is correct. That and or tax.
Exactly. So by doing this, again, we assure absolutely that growth pays for growth. The other thing as part of these policies, you also establish a new policy that has to do with both street lighting and lighting that someone may need on their individual property.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So of the two policies we have, one being private lighting, which offers our residents the option to choose from different wattages of LED lights, as well as going from the wooden pole look or having the nice black pole with the acorn style, still the 100-watt LED, but they have a different realm of where they want to pick from. So if they want the basic, it's one charge, and if you want the really nice, it's another charge.
But again, it's the person that wants this pays for it.
Correct.
No one else pays any portion of the cost. Basically, it's a voluntary issue that you want lighting by your home, and if you want it either a greater wattage or greater capacity or an ornamental light pole, you pay for it. The individual pays for it.
That is correct.
Okay. And then the street lighting, like again, a residential subdivision, and this is actually not the individual private home, but those lights that we see in a street that light the street.
Correct.
How does that work?
So, and that one's kind of unique. So if you have a development and just say you need 30 lights, and that goes in with our ordinance and how many we require. So we go to the developer and they say, hey, we need X amount of lights. We put that in.
Mm-hmm.
That cost is on a 10-year lease. It's sent to the developer. It's also passed along to the contractor, which ends up at the HOA. And then it's an evolving payment from there on.
But that is designed to fully cover the cost of installing and maintaining those new streetlights that are put in on these streets that serve the development.
That is correct. That's
so
correct.
Again, same story in terms of the growth is paying for the growth. The people who put it in initially, they get the benefit of it, they pay for it. It's not added into the overall system.
That's correct.
Which that I think is this theme that we want to make certain of. We're never going to pass that cost on to the existing ratepayers or the existing taxpayers because they didn't require or cause the problem.
That's 100% correct.
Exactly. So I think that's a theme that's important to keep in mind. So again, to Wayne's credit, to our other department heads, when they're looking at these kinds of things where we're dealing with growth, we know that they can be disruptive, we know that they can cost, and we want to make certain that we minimize those things to existing citizens, existing ratepayers, existing taxpayers, because there's never a reason, or there shouldn't be, that those folks are burdened as a result of some kind of new growth. In fact, it should be the exact opposite. Not only shouldn't you be burdened, but it's that new growth that's going to start to produce new taxes, new rates, and additions to the resources that we need as a city to not only serve the new folks, but to actually serve better the existing people that are here. Because we know that more growth actually does mean more resources for everybody ultimately. Mm-hmm. We can create better amenities, we can better maintain the utilities. You know, the greater base you have among customers, the easier it is to maintain the overall cost of your system, because then you're spreading those fixed costs over a greater number of people,
right.
Which in effect actually could bring those costs down. So we're excited about that. You always worry about growth, but at the same time, if you plan for it effectively, it shouldn't be a cause for concern or disruption. Any other further thoughts about as you kind of enter this world now that we're seeing a lot more growth and how you're planning for it and some of the things that you're looking at?
So thanks for the opportunity. I would like to add and mention that what we do now have is a baseline in these policies and procedures. What we're going to do is see how these work, and we're going to have the opportunity or the availability to tweak anything for commercial and industrial that comes along. We hope to foresee a lot of residential growth. That's what's on the horizon. And we have the ability to tweak commercial and industrial. So I think it's a really good thing, and it's really something that's been needed, but it allows us to be a really proactive in the procedure standpoint and not reactive.
Exactly. And you bring up a good point too. You talked a little bit about there are different classes of customers. We have residential, we have commercial, we have industrial, but you, in running an electric utility or a gas utility, you always want to keep in mind what's in the very best interest of the community. Mm-hmm. Because the reason we do this is we're trying to add benefit to this community. Because we know we don't have to be in these businesses. So when we make decisions with regard to either serving a particular customer or a class of customer, we got to make certain that it's to the overall benefit of the entire community. Wouldn't you say that?
Oh, absolutely.
So that's really a big part of the policies that we look at the future. There could be policies that we determine, larger users, et cetera, where we simply say we really can't serve you because it's neither effective or in effect profitable for us to do that. Wouldn't that be accurate?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Because at the end of the day, we're only in this to provide better service, more reliable service, and more competitive rates. And if we can't do all of those things, then there are others that can provide the service, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Absolutely. Well, I love it. Another example of our department heads, our staff that are working really diligently all the time, thinking about the future, trying to make certain that everything that we do works to the very best interest of our community, not just now, but well into the future as we see some of this growth. So with that, this has again been Updates with the City Manager. Thank you, Kings Mountain, and thank you, Wayne Ledbetter.
Thank you.